Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jade, and this is How to App on iOS. And today, we are going to be interviewing Brad Example's mum, Debra Example, on the show. So strap yourselves in. Let's kick off with a song by Brad Example. One of my favorites, Little Birds.
Same old story. He's getting old and lives alone in a brick house. Down the road from me and never goes out. Waiting by a phone that never rings. He had a bird once, and every day his bird would sing a sweet song. Never flew away until one day it sang one final love song. And he loves until his heart broke. And he cried sometimes when the little birds sang their lonely love songs. Stares out the window down the road from me and watches the kids play. It's an old oak tree that stands between their homes with roots tangled in the clay. And the tears roll down a face that only tears have ever known. And all this time reflecting back a past could have fallen from an old man's nameless eyes. And he loves until his heart broke. And he cried sometimes when the little birds sang their lonely love songs. And he loves until his heart broke. And he cried sometimes when the little birds sang their lonely love songs. Same old story. We're getting old and live alone in these brick homes. The curtains close and life goes on to the sound of a lonely bird's love song.
Good morning. Welcome to the show. I hope you're all doing well. Good evening, good afternoon. Wherever you are in the world, my name's Jade. This is How to App on iOS. It is Friday here in Australia. Tomorrow's my day off, and it's my favourite time of the week because we have a special guest on the show, and it's always somebody intriguing, interesting, and fun, and today is no different. As I said, I hope you're all doing really good. I'm doing okay for having a broken toe and all that jazz. Thank you for spending your very precious time with me here today. Okay, let's jump into let's get the business out of the way first. So that was Brad Example and Little Birds. That clip is not available online. That only a very few of us have of Brad with his cleanly shaven face. And I'm lucky enough to have that clip on my computer here. Also, let's talk about today's sponsor, which I need to do because they pay the bills, yeah? Oh, yeah. Today's sponsor, of course, is DistroKid. And DistroKid is the one-stop shop for you need to go to release your music to the world across all of the usual suspects of digital streaming services like YouTube, like Spotify, like Apple Music, like all of them, every one of them. There's so many that I don't even know what half of them are. Look at them. Let's have a look here. If I go to upload music, before we talk about the prices, here they are. Look at the list here. Spotify, TikTok, Deezer, Savan, NetEase, QUK Media, MediaNet, Apple Music, YouTube, Tidal, Boomplay, Tencent. They make video games, don't they? Yandex, iTunes, Amazon, iHeartRadio. So many. Pandora, Instagram, Facebook, so many places, even Snapchat if you select the little box. So there you go. And if you sign up to DistroKid with my little link that is over there or in the description, distrokid.com/VIP/Jade Starr, and Thomas Christ has, as usual, put the link down there, you get 7% off your first year of subscription. And those prices are super cheap. Most people would just go for the $22.99 a year, which works out to be $1.92 a month to have all your music up there, limited songs, lyrics, which we're going to look at today. Lyrics, yeah, good times with lyrics. And royalty splits, all the good stuff that you get. Plus, there are two other plans, the Musicians Plus plan for $39.99, and the Ultimate plan is the one I use, which is $89.99. And I just got charged for my year, and luckily I had enough money to cover it from my earnings. Thanks, DistroKid. As we say all the time, we'll come back halfway through the show and I'll tell you about one of the features of DistroKid. And as I always say in my creepy voice, I love you, DistroKid. One day they're going to tell me that I'm a creep and stop doing that. So thank you, DistroKid. All right, let's get down to today's guest who's waiting in the wings. And I've got to know this person through Brad Example, of course, because she's related to him. And we sit around on Clubhouse. We have this little gang of us, Russ, and me, and Ivan Idea, and who else? Oh, yeah, and Brad, and Kurt, and Leela. And we kind of all hang out sometimes. Ed comes in. I see Ed's here as well. And we get to talk to this person sometimes. So I really wanted to have her on the show because she's very creative, and I love creative people. And I want to know the real story behind Brad Example because I reckon he's full of shit. No, I don't. I'm being silly. So let's welcome to the show. I don't know. I guess this is her first interview on the internets. And let's welcome the one, the only, I'm going to call her Debra Example. Hello.
Hello. Oh, I don't know if you could. There you go. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Jade, for having me. And yes, this is my very first interview. Yeah. So.
Are you nervous?
A little bit now that I'm sitting right here. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Now that we're actually live?
Yeah, now that we're actually live, a little bit. But I think I have the gift of gab, so I should be able to, I hope, navigate it and kind of flow through it.
Absolutely.
So Bradley gets his from somewhere, so I'm assuming it's probably me.
Probably, yeah. Well, before the show, you were already giving me stories, and I was like, Bobby, shut up.
Oh yeah, and Bobby shut up, and now they're barking again because somebody knocked on our door.
Of course. Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're so noisy for being so freaking little. Jeez, Louise. You know, when you played that video of Bradley, it's interesting because he told me, um, oh my goodness. Oh, I just got flowers.
Oh,
Oh my
wow.
God. Aw, ever nice. Probably from work. But anyways, Bradley had said to me, Mom, I have this song. And he said, I've been sitting on it for a really long time. And he said, I don't know how to finish it. So I said to him, well, play it to me. And so he started playing it to me. And I said, he said, Mom, I know that this is a special song. He said, and I just don't want to screw it up. So he sat on it for, I don't know how many years. And he said, I don't know how to finish it. I don't know how to go on with it. So he played it for me, and I listened to it, and it did speak to me. Like, I think it's a beautiful song. And actually, him and I sat down and we finished the song together. So that I added, a little bit of what I thought and a couple of words here and there, and then he added, and we just kind of played off of each other, and he finished the song. So that's something that him and I did, which was really nice. And in that video, he was super sick when he did that video. You can't tell, but holy crap, he got hives. So he was sitting with the worst case of hives you could possibly imagine. He ended up having to get IV prednisone, but he was really sick when he did that video. But yeah.
But isn't that every day with Brad?
Pardon me?
Isn't Brad sick nearly every day? I remember when I first met Brad, he sent me the most heart-wrenching email. I got this email from him, and he said all this stuff of like, I've been watching your channel, you probably don't know who I am. And he sent me photos of his back and all this. And I virtually was crying reading this email. And ever since, we've been best friends.
Yeah.
And so do you have a lot of input with Brad's material when he writes songs? Does he ask your opinion a lot?
No, not really. He's pretty good about, like, he knows what he wants when he writes, and he's very concentrated when he writes. Once in a while he usually starts with the music first, and then he goes into the lyrics, which is kind of backwards to me, but that's the way he does it. And no, not really. Once in a while he'll say something, and I'll tell him whether I like it, or I might say something like you got to change maybe the speed of the song, or maybe the title of the song. Like, I wasn't really keen on the title for now I can't remember because I have brain fog. I can't remember, the Prayer for the Wicked or something like that.
Yep.
And I thought, this isn't a song about wicked people. People that have these kind of issues aren't wicked people. I would have preferred like maybe a prayer for the helpless, or prayer for the angels, or prayer for, because all people are angels in a way. I would have preferred a different title, but he went with a Prayer for the Wicked. So he doesn't always listen to me. So
he doesn't listen to anyone.
Yeah. He's got an idea in his head, and he doesn't always listen to me. So what do I know, right?
He seems to be an artist who obsesses over music and getting it absolutely perfect. From my time with him, he really everything. If it doesn't feel like it's happening, it's garbage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he's been that way his whole life. So everything, so that plays into his OCD, right? And so for years, we didn't know that Brad had OCD, and he hid it from most people. So his OCD is a little bit, I mean, it did manifest a little bit later on in his life where he did certain things obsessively, but his OCD is mostly in his head. So, for instance, he would come downstairs for breakfast in the morning and grumpy as old hell. And we would, say good morning, or we'd be just having normal breakfast conversation, and he would be absolutely freaking miserable. Well, we learned that we had to not say anything to him before he had his bowl of cereal.
Oh, little bubbins.
Yeah, I know. And so we just kind of rolled with it, not knowing what it was. Like, I had to put his folded clothes outside his bedroom door. I couldn't go in and put his clothes away. We couldn't talk to him before he had his bowl of cereal, because it would be like, well, I can't fucking eat this. So up the stairs he'd go, and then he'd come back down again, and we'd have to start all over, right? We'd have to start the ritual all over again. What else? Food, of course.
Oh,
He
God.
he
Oh,
you know,
is it
yeah,
true?
like,
Is it true? Can I ask? He only eats one thing, doesn't he?
it is true. It is true.
It's peanut
we
butter,
even
isn't
took
it?
him to a freaking witch doctor. Now, he really wasn't a witch doctor, but we took him to this guy. So we took him to doctors. We took him to physiotherapy, or not physiotherapists, but therapists. We took him, and then we ended up taking him to this guy who was some kind of psychometrist, or whatever the hell they call them. And this guy started asking Bradley whether he worshiped the devil. Like, seriously, Bradley came home and he said, Mom, this guy asked me if I worship the devil. Like, he was like maybe 7 or 8 at the time. Like, what the hell is that? I said, that's it. Like, you're not going back to this wacko. But yes, when Bradley tells you that he only eats probably 10 things, he is telling you the truth. He has never had a piece of meat. He has never eaten a vegetable. He used to eat bananas, apples. Those were the only 2 fruits that he would eat. He's never eaten like a hot dog or a piece of pizza, or he never ate any of that kind of stuff. And we don't know why, and we didn't at the time. However, when Bradley was in the hospital here in Atikokan, it was a dietitian from this little town of 2,800 people that walked in and said to Bradley, I know what you have. And he started crying, because for all these years, people, they would tease him. They would say, well, just eat it. Like, what's so hard about just eating something? And Bradley would say, I can't. But people don't understand that, right? But there is a name for his eating disorder, and it was such a relief to him, because it proved that he wasn't crazy. You know what I mean? Like, so he always thought he was crazy. His friends, I guess they just kind of grew to love Bradley. So Bradley would walk. Okay, for example, if we were at home and we would say to Bradley, on the spur of the moment. Okay, everybody hop in the car. We're going such and such a place. Bradley was never ever comfortable with that because he never knew what the outcome was going to be. So he always had a discomfort of not knowing. And I suppose that's part of the control thing that you were talking about, the same with his music. He always felt like he needed to be in control of his environment, and he would puke all the way to school. So he had anxiety,
Yeah.
but we didn't know it. And his friends hid it from us because his friends actually became very protective of Brad when he was growing up. And because his father was an asshole. But so they became very protective of Brad. They grew to, after a while, accept his not eating. And they would still tease him once in a while, but it wasn't that hard, cruel tease. It was just a good-natured teasing. And they just grew to, accept him for who he is and live with it. And yeah, so
He told me that the name Brad Example, all right, obviously his first name's Brad, but when he was young, he would go to all his friends' houses and the parents wouldn't let him in. They wouldn't let him in the house because they thought he was a bad example. And that's
yes,
how the name Brad Example, he chose
Yep.
that because
Yep.
he was a bad example, right? So that's true.
It is true. And it's interesting because Brad was actually a really good kid.
Yeah.
Like he did not get into trouble, and but he was very intuitive, or very not intuitive, but very inquisitive about the world. So as you probably have heard, maybe other people haven't, but for sure some of the stupid ass things that he tries. And we had a discussion about that today because he freaking puked in the garbage can yesterday.
I've already given him a lecture this morning. He
Like,
doesn't listen.
frick.
He doesn't listen.
No, he doesn't listen. So it's like, what? But anyway, so he just said, well, because it's there and because I can, like, it's like, for freak's sakes. But when he was younger, he was he dressed a little bit different than the rest. He was a very individual person. He dressed the way he wanted to, which wasn't, we lived in kind of an upper, I don't know if you want to call it upper class, but kind of more professional type people. We were surrounded by doctors and teachers and, all this kind of stuff, right? And Bradley dressed like, let's call it, he dressed kind of grunge. And so the parents weren't, keen on that. And then Bradley discovered weed at a very young age. So he was a pothead at a very young age, but he found that, I guess, the pot kind of evened him out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like a self-medicating type thing.
Absolutely.
So pot would even his personality out, take a little bit of the edge off his anxiety. But of course, these other kids, parents, thought that all their children were angels, and they would take one look at Brad. And he was a leader, so a very strong leader. So it was always his ideas, his kind of like, whatever direction Bradley went in, there was a whole crowd of kids that followed along with him. But he never did anything bad. And but the other kids did things bad, and Bradley got blamed for it because, why not, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna say that this odd-looking child is the bad one, right? They have to blame somebody. So he's got broad shoulders, so he would take the blame, right? And
Yep.
he did, like, a lot of times. I would say, Bradley, like, why don't you stand up for yourself? Like, what the frick? And he would say, you know what? They think I'm bad. let it be. You know what I mean? Like it at that time it really didn't matter to him. It didn't, and as he got older, it didn't matter to him either, like whatever. People have their own minds, and if this is what they choose to do, uh they don't have to do what he does. They can make up their minds. That was Bradley's thing all the time. I'm
Yeah,
not
they're the sheep, you know.
exactly. And they do have minds of their own, whether they choose to use them or not, then that's their issue, right? So
So, all right, we've had a talk about Brad. We're going to talk about you now for a bit. Okay,
okay.
let's get off Brad. He sucks the air out of the room everywhere he is
Oh.
because he's a star. We all know he's a star, and that is what it is.
and he knows he's a star, right?
Yeah, he does.
So
he's a star.
yeah,
Well,
in his way, right?
Well,
Yes.
this is the thing with Brad. We tell him over and over again how talented he is and how amazing he is and how his music hits all of us in the heart. There's many people who are here in the chat. And again, we'll say hello to you all soon in the chat, but thank you all for being here. There's 32 of you here, so thank you. And, but he's very gracious and he doesn't believe it sometimes. We tell him how good he is and he sits there and sometimes it doesn't seem to sink in.
It doesn't, yeah. And you're right. I know lots of times when when he's off air or whatever, and he'll say to me over and over again, how did it sound, Mom? How did it sound? Did it sound good? Was I okay? So yeah, like he knows that he has talent, but he's also very, very humble, and he does not believe as much as you think that he might. He doesn't believe. He doesn't believe in himself. Like there's so many things I said to Bradley, like you should be writing music and even sending it out, and he'll say, no, I'm not good enough. And I think, holy crap, the way that he puts phrases together, like he's the best.
Yeah, he is. I mean,
the way he words it, like poetry.
If I didn't think he was amazing, I wouldn't have him on my T-shirts.
Yes. Yes. And I got to order one of those T-shirts.
I've just sent him one too, so he's getting one in the mail soon. But if you're after one of these T-shirts, folks, you can get them. They are available online. They're available down in the description, so you can get them. And you can also get Brad Example kissable pillows. So if you really like Brad, you can just kiss him and go to sleep. There he is there with his face on it. So you can you can
with
kiss
his
him.
55-year-old looking face on there.
And
Jesus.
There's shirts, there's stickers, so you can get merch if you really want. Let's stop trying to shield Brad. All right. So
wait. I just have to tell you this one thing. So I went to a show of Bradley's once, and I went to a few of his shows. He started at a really young age. Like they were the youngest band probably in Sault Ste. Marie, and they wanted an all ages show. And so his band was the first one in Sault Ste. Marie that did that. And man, like it took off like wildfire because the young kids had no place to go. But anyways, I went to some of those shows and then I kind of stopped going to them for a while. When the band got a little bit bigger, he said, "Oh, Mom," he said, "you need to come to this show." And I said, okay, fine, even though my ears would be just absolutely ringing when I left. And then I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, and then he's playing a set and doing his thing, and then he gives me a shout out, and he says, "Okay, Mom," he said, you can close your eyes. He freaking dropped his drawers like in front of his mother. I'm standing in the audience, and the next thing and the crowd is shouting something, and I couldn't hear. Like I was already deafened by the speakers, and I couldn't hear or understand what they were saying. but I think they were saying something like drop your drawers. Well, I didn't know what the hell that meant. And the next thing you know, his drawers just fell off of him, and he's standing there with his bass guitar hung low, and he's freaking buck naked. Like, I'm going, who the hell does that in front of their mother when they're it's like, oh my God, Bradley. But anyways, that t-shirt reminded me of that. Oh, and then one time he said, my mother went to a show in Thunder Bay, and he's singing some sweet songs and everything is good, and then he stands up and he says, he's standing there and he says, okay, he said, now I have a song for my grandma. And then all of a sudden the song, oh, Bradley, what's the name of the song? Oh, it's something to do with I'm the fucking ruler. Oh, what's that? Yeah, then he said, so this is for my mother, who, is in her 70s and doesn't swear if you paid her $100. And Bradley's standing there singing, I make the fucking rules. And everybody in the audience is screaming, I make the fucking rules. And my mom looked at me and I'm looking, oh my God, it was so funny. Like, we did end up laughing, right? But yeah, in that regard, he has no shame, none. But
yeah. I've seen at Christmas, we have this tradition where we send each other naked pictures for Christmas. So I have a collection of Brad's naked pictures. I've seen everything.
I am sure you have.
Yeah, and he's seen everything of me. I think we've seen everything of Ivan Idea. Russ is the only one who hasn't sent naked pictures. But
oh my God, you guys!
None of us want to see Russ naked. That'd be horrifying.
Well, honestly, I don't know. Seeing Bradley is kind of horrifying too. But
I don't know.
I've seen it all too. So
you said he had his bass hung low. That's not all I've seen hung low.
Yeah, the bass hung low. There's a reason for that. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to play some music, and then we're going to come back and start talking about you. Now, you sent me a selection of songs to play, and one of them is by the Delicate Giants, which is Russ. So I'm going to play this track, and then we'll come back, and we're going to find out who you are and your story. Let's do that now. So this is a Delicate Giants. This is a track called Born Free. Very appropriate title, I believe. So we'll see you all back here shortly. We'll say hello to you all in the chat as well. This is a Delicate Giants and Born Free. An incredible piece of music by Russ8889, The Delicate Giants. So you picked these songs today along with Brad, yeah, and sent these to me.
This is incredibly beautiful. Like I have to tell you that the music and the photography and like I want to close my eyes, but then I'm gonna miss all the beautiful images. But like I could see this piece being played opening credits to an epic movie. Like it's so beautiful, all the guitar work and the nuances of all the different instruments and everything. It's gorgeous. I love it.
He goes all right, Russ, for being an asshole. But we can't help who he is. Let's say hello to everybody who's here. I'll do my best now. If you're in the chat, type something, anything, so I can call you out because I don't have all the chat in front of me. Cold Acres here. Pole Vault is here. Robbie Stingle is here. Andy Cowell is here. Many Vibes. Pookie. We've also got Thomas Christ. I saw Metalhead Hippie. Boom. There he is, Metalhead Hippie. Gary Hubbs is here. Who else do I see? DOA is here. Hello to you. Hello to you all. D. Michael. Leela's here. Russ is here. Jolene is here as well. Your daughter's here as well.
Oh, my girl.
She's in the chat as well.
Yeah. That's that's my favorite child. But
Yeah.
Don't tell Bradley that.
She's been telling us all in the chat. She's been letting us all know. So, Feisty Feather, hello to you. The Mix Club, Rhett, he's off going to do some gardening, I think. FPC is here. Who else do I see? Independent Many United, hello to you. Mike Shana, what's going? Something, anything, he says. There's Jolene. She says, hey, mama, kiss, kiss, kiss. So she's here. Thanks for joining us, Jolene. Leela, so I think I've got as many of you as I can. We need to push on. So if you haven't typed any, I saw Kim earlier as well too. Sorry. All right. And if I've missed your name, I do apologize, but we got an interview to do, yeah? So let's get on with it. All right. Debra, what does music mean to you?
Oh, well. Oh my goodness. I've listened to music my whole life. So I have when I was growing up, I listened to country music because that was all that was played in my house. My dad, my grandfather, my uncle, they jammed and they jammed whenever they drank, and they drank a lot. So it was music in my house all the time, and they played a wide variety of instruments. So music was always a part of my life. And then when I got married, my husband had a lot of music. I had a lot of music too, but my tastes ran probably a little bit different. Like I liked Leonard Cohen. Most of the people that I grew up with didn't even know who Leonard Cohen was. But I listened to him. I didn't care for the Beatles. I know, you can strike me down dead now if you want to, but I hated pop music. Never was a fan of pop music. I still am not a fan of pop music. I like the kind of grittier stuff, like the more soulful type of music. So, but we always had music. I played music to Bradley before he was even born. I read to Bradley before he was even born. I would read storybooks while I was pregnant. And I can't sing worth a lick, but I would sing I Love You, You was just a silly little thing. And I would sing that before any of my children were born. But music is, it's like any other art form, I suppose. It speaks to your heart in some way. Like if I want to write something down, then I listen to music in order to do it. So it's almost like a gateway to other art forms. because it kind of gets in you and it starts working around in you, and it's almost like it frees you to do other things, like it frees you to express yourself in other ways. So I don't know how else to describe it, but that's what music is to me. I love music, and then of course when Bradley got older and started with his musical taste, I never really listened to the blues or heard any of the blues, but then Bradley would say to me, "Oh, mom, you got to listen to this or you got to listen to that." And so through him, my musical tastes have definitely expanded from what it used to be. So there's so much out there, and there's so much creativity, and there's just it's endless to me. And I always think to myself, like, how can people come up with different, but they do. They just continually come up with different. And I don't know. It's Bradley calls it from the universe. That's what he calls it, and I think I believe it. It just kind of comes from the universe. It's just there, endless and boundless, just like the universe.
It is amazing because for such a limited amount of chords and notes there are in a scale, we are still able to create new and interesting things. But I don't know if that comes from, definitely, like, it's not like we're inventing new notes or new scales, like, but
Exactly.
I think it's because now people are going to get upset about this. We're evolving as creatures, everything's evolving. Every day we evolve and we change, so that's what keeps music interesting and fresh and vibrant, because of the way we evolve and change. It's not all the time we evolve into the correct path. During the 50s, 40s and stuff, 30s, we were all at war. So there's a time when music disappeared, and then throughout the chaos, good music followed after that. You spoke about other creative angles, because back in the day, you were just a musician. But these days, you need to be more than a musician. You need to be a graphic artist. You need to understand how to promote yourself. You need to be able to come up with ideas visually for video clips. Because you're an artist as well. So how did you get into art?
Well, as kind of like Bradley, right? So I've always felt, and I suppose that everybody probably feels the same way. There's something inside of you, or inside of me, that I always feel like there's something. I don't want to use the word great, but there's something in me that there's a purpose. There's something innately in each human being, I think, that is either a gift or a purpose to why you're here, or like just your purpose. So in the beginning, I wrote, and I kind of stopped writing, but I did write things, and I would look at this blank piece of paper, and I would think to myself, oh, I have to put something down on this piece of paper, but I don't know what it is. And I still feel that way when I look at a piece of paper. I've kind of started a children's book, because I like to write too. I'm not like Bradley's writing, though, unfortunately, but I write in my own way. But it's the same thing with music. It's the same thing with photography. It's the same thing with art. Like you look at something and you look at it and you go, "Oh my God, that's so beautiful!" It almost takes your breath away, and you stop and you think, and at least I do, and I go to, do people see the same thing I see? Like, it makes you wonder, or when you hear a piece of music that is so mind-bendingly beautiful and you go, do people hear it the same way that I hear it? Not that it really matters, but do they have that sense of beauty or that sense of wonder that somebody took, like you were talking about certain chords or certain riffs in a guitar or whatever, and do they hear it the same way that I hear it, because it's so good, right? And I suppose writing is the same thing. Doing what you do would kind of fall in that same category. Like you put certain things together and it becomes a cohesive piece of beauty almost, you know what I mean? And we can do that with so much in our life, but people are afraid, for one thing, so they're afraid to try, or they don't think they're good enough, or they just maybe they don't feel it. I don't know. I don't know how people cannot feel it, but I suppose maybe there are some people that don't feel it the same way. So when I never thought I could paint. I always wanted to paint. Now, I can't draw a stick, and that's the honest to God truth. So I can't do realism, but I can put colors together, and I can absolutely get lost in the creative part of it. So it's not that it matters what it looks like afterwards so much, but it's that getting lost in something, getting so lost in it that I don't eat. I forget to go to the bathroom. Seriously, like when I first started to paint, man, I would have to, almost pee my pants because I didn't want to get up and take the time from what I was doing to stop that process of stop the process of what I was doing. But COVID did that to me too. So when COVID first started, I work in the health field, or I did. Today was my last day. I worked in the healthcare field since I was 19, and I'm now going to be 69. So, and I've done healthcare my whole life. And I loved my job. So, every aspect of my job, I have loved it. And then I raised, I had my children and I raised my children. So, I would look at things and I would say, oh my God, this is beautiful. And again, wonder if anybody saw how beautiful, a simple daisy growing in a field. Like, do they look at that and go, oh my God, that's beautiful. It's like, it's wonderful. Like, do people see that? Just stepping out your door, people think that they have to go traveling, or they got to go to Rome, or they got to go here, or they got to go there to see beauty, when actually you can step outside your door with a camera and focus in on a single flower and have it be absolutely gorgeous, and something that makes you wonder and want to look at it closer. And but when COVID hit, we had to change our shifts up. And so I would work 7 on 10-hour shifts, and then I would have 7 off. And so I thought to myself, what the hell am I going to do with 7 days off? Because I've been a person that has worked 2 and 3 jobs my whole life. So to have 7 days off in a row, it was like mind-boggling to me. And I thought, what the hell am I going to do? And I was watching YouTube, so the wonder of the technical world here, even though I hate it. And I was watching some YouTube videos, and I came across a lady who actually is from Australia, and she was doing Jilly Cube, I think her name is, and she was doing like a paint pour. So I thought, well, that looks easy enough. Like even I can do that. Well, it's not as easy as it looks. But that's how I started. So I started with that. And then I thought, I read a quote once that basically says, who cares whether you're good? Who cares? And in the long run, who cares? If this is what you do and this is what makes your soul happy, then and you're doing it for you, then who cares whether it's good or not, right? It doesn't really matter. So this one that you're looking at now, so the color isn't quite as crisp, but this is a paint pour. So there's a very specific technique to that. So I use glue and water. So I start off with glue and water, and I mix like a 60-40 percentage of water to glue, just ordinary Elmer's glue, and you mix it up really good. Then you take your colors and you slowly pour your pouring medium, which is glue and water. You slowly pour that in and you mix it to a certain consistency. So then you start layering your colors. So when you dump it onto your canvas and you start tipping it, and then you get what they call cells. So all those little round things are called cells. And if you look inside the cells, you're going to see more than one color. So there's going to be a different different layers and rings of colors in that kind of thing. So that's just one technique. So anyway, so I started doing that, and now that's mixed media. So I just flop some paint on a canvas. I don't really have a plan. I just excuse me. So I just take some colors and I think, oh, I want to work with blues, or I want to work with grays, or blues and grays, or whatever the case may be. I slap it onto the canvas, and then I put other things on it. So now Jolene hates it when I do this kind of stuff. So Bradley is really different. Bradley is the type of person that everything I show him, he loves. And that's the truth, because he believes in what's the word? He believes in encouraging anybody that wants to be creative. He believes in encouraging them. Jolene, on the other hand, will say, no, Mom, I don't like that. So she's, I think, a little bit more honest than Bradley, where Bradley's more encouraging, right? He loves everything I do. It could be a blob, and he'll say, oh my God, Mom, that's absolutely gorgeous. So he's my cheerleader, and Jolene's my critic. So, you know, two different people there. Although Jolene does say, oh yeah, Mom, I like that, or you know, oh, that's nice, but don't stick a bunch of shit on it. That's what she always says to me. Don't put a bunch of shit on it. So
it's interesting, you know, you mentioned about, you know, you can't draw, but colors work. See, I'm completely the opposite. I can draw really well, but when it comes to colors, I just have no idea. So I normally get other people to color my stuff. I've just always been that way. I'm colorblind as well, so when you don't have confidence, like, and you see a color and you're not sure of it, it really affects you, and you get scared of coloring things. It's very interesting how we all have these little things that aren't fully developed, but you know, if you work with someone else, you can create that. I find your art incredibly unique and fascinating.
Thank you.
Surprised that I mean, was this when you were at school? Did you Was this something you endeavored when you were young? Did you have classes
No.
of this? No, nothing like that?
No. So when I was young, I hated art. I hated art, and we used to have art. I think once a week where we devoted, like 2 hours to art classes, and I absolutely hated it. I would rather read a book. Um, Hated sports, so I wasn't into sports. I hated the competitive aspect of sports. Um, but I read lots, like, oh my God, I can't even begin to tell you all of the classics. I bet you I have read probably close to 4,000 books in my lifetime. That's how I spent most of my time, was reading. It was my escape, because I lived in the country. I didn't have neighbors. I didn't have friends. Because when I tell you that we lived in the country, we lived in the country. There was nobody else around. We lived in the woods. And and we didn't have television when I was growing up. I went to a one-room schoolhouse, one room. In this day and age, it was one of the last one-room schoolhouses in all of Canada at the time. So it had grade 1 to grade 8 in one room. Didn't have electricity. We had to go to an outdoor biffy. We had coal lamps that were lit, and they hung from the ceiling. Yeah, we used to heat our mittens in the wintertime. We used to heat our mittens on a coal stove. Well, not coal, but fuel oil. They used to always stink like fuel oil, but we would put our mittens on that. But we would go outside, and there was a railway track. So I'm a daydreamer. So there was a railway track that used to run. The school was built on a hill. At the bottom of the hill was a railway track. So they used to run the train probably 3 times a day. And I would look at the train all the time, like constantly staring out the window and getting in trouble for it. But constantly staring out the window and always wondering where the train was going to and where it came from. And then of course I read stories about train hoppers and all that kind of thing. And so I always thought that was really romantic. People just, hopping on a train and going wherever. But no, I hated art. And, but I always appreciated it. So I would see art, in books and different things like that. And I would look at it and I would think, oh my God, that is so gorgeous, and wanting to do it, but just never having the confidence and I figured you had to have training, right? I always thought I had to be taught how. So it would be, afraid that I couldn't do shadowing or, the where the point of light comes through, and I still, if I lived in a bigger town where these things were offered, I would 100% go to some art classes for sure, just so that I could have a reference point for light coming in and shadowing and that kind of stuff. Like, learning is always a good thing, right? If you can learn a little bit more, hey, everything that you learn is always a benefit. You can always take away something from somebody, even critique, right? Somebody could come up and say, I really like this, but maybe if you had added a little bit more color in this corner or whatever. Like, I always appreciate things like that, right? Because it's learning, and learning, learning is life. Like, you're never so smart that you can't learn something from somebody.
I agree. Yeah, I try and learn something every day. every day I try and at least learn something, even if it's trivial. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to
Absolutely.
I'm going to play another song, and then we're going to come back and have a chat about now. Time's going so fast, and there's heaps more I want to cover. So if we go over time today, is that going to be all right with you?
That's fine with
all right,
me.
Cool. So,
I'm retired, remember?
I know. So let's say that too. So congratulations. But we'll talk about that next. We'll talk about that. We've got all this to cover. I'm going to play another song. Now, this is one of Brad's songs. You've already touched on. This is Prayer for the Wicked.
Yes.
I know. And I know there's a lot of people in the chat asking, can they get your art? But we'll talk about that later. We'll get to that because there's people who are interested. So, and we got lots more art to show you guys. So let's stick around and let's play Prayer for the Wicked by Brad Example. We'll be back here shortly. All right, let's do it right now.
Without a consequence,
Debra Example. We're both smoking away here. You're still on the old style cigarettes. I'm on the new,
Oh, God, yes.
I'm on the machine.
Yeah, yeah.
It's still the same thing, just attached to a machine, you know.
Yeah, I should be quitting. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. You know, hey,
Yeah.
we all have our vices, and you know, I'm only down to one vice these days, and it's this. Nothing else. I don't do anything
well,
else.
there you go. I'm only
know?
down to one vice too. I don't even have sex. So hey,
Same
you know
here.
what? It's like shit. Everything's going. I can't give up the smoke.
Yeah,
So
I know. All right. Now, I need to do our ad read for our sponsor. So let's do this now because we love our sponsor at DistroKid. We'll bring you in down the bottom here. So, folks, today's show, as always, is sponsored by DistroKid. If you would like to release your music, you can do so with this one-stop shop at the very low price of $22.99 a year. It's super cheap, less than a coffee a month, $1.92. If you use my code that's in the description, it's distrokid.com/VIP/Jade Starr. You get 7% off your first year. I'm going to show you a feature today. That's really cool and fun. So let's have a go at it. So what you can do is you can add your lyrics to your music. So they'll appear on Apple Music, yeah? It's really easy to do. You can go in and first add your lyrics. So we've got this little thing down here called Enhance Your Music. We can scroll down. It says lyrics, your lyrics. So let's click on that. And I'm going to find a song that I haven't done this to yet. So we've got one of my Dread Circus songs here called It's Over. I've already gone and written the lyrics and put them in. So here are all the lyrics. I've put them in and submitted them. So now when you go to Apple Music and stream this song, you can see the lyrics. But what we're going to do with this is you can actually go in and sync them up to the music. And they do it like almost like a Guitar Hero way. So you find your song, wherever it is. I had it there and I've lost it. It's Over. And you click this little button called Synced Lyrics. And what it does, it gives you the option to start and it'll play the song. And every time the lyrics start, you hit the space bar and that will put the lyrics in. So we'll go in here. So we hit the button to play. And then every time I hit the space bar, it will add the lyrics as I'm singing them. So let's give it a go. Here's the music. Hopefully I don't stuff it up, because if you stuff it up, you can go back and do it again, yeah? All right, here we go. And it lights up. And then as soon as you let go, and you do this all the way through to the end of the song. And let go of the space bar. So if you don't have a keyboard attached, you just touch the lyrics with your finger. It's pretty cool. And so on. So until you get to the end of the song, and then once it's done, it says we've recorded it. It'll take a few days to go, and then once you go to your track in Apple Music, the actual lyrics will go along with the song. I think it's a really cool little enhancement that they've added here to do this. Technology has come a long way. Let me tell you that. Debra, did you ever think we would have something like this when you were growing up?
Never. Absolutely never. I took typing in high school, and I hated it. So now I have a phone. I carry a phone in my purse. My kids ask me why, because I never answer it. But it's amazing to me how far technology has come. Even in my lifetime, like absolutely amazing. To dial phone, that was attached to your wall, to something that you can carry around in your purse. Yeah, it's amazing to me. Seeing all of this, I would never be able to do it, but because I can barely find the space bar, but it's amazing to me.
Yeah, it blows.
Absolutely amazing.
Now, we grew up in different eras. See, that's done now. And now all I have to do is hit save time lyrics, and that's done. It says, please allow around a week, and your lyrics will show up all automated. I mean, so
do you ever worry, though, that, okay, maybe this is just my conspiracy, not that I'm into that, because I think that's a bunch of bullshit. And I don't want to get into it. But anyways, do you ever worry that when you put stuff out on the internet like that people can steal it? Is that possible?
well, that's the beautiful thing about releasing music through a distribution label like DistroKid, that you're essentially putting it out through a company. So it's registered when
Okay.
the song is done, when it was uploaded. So if anybody does try to mess with you, you have proof.
Okay.
The burden of
Okay.
proof is on them to prove that they made the song. So you're pretty good. A lot of people do obsess over this stuff still. So let's just say thank you to DistroKid for sponsoring the show. And we'll get off this screen here. We'll thank them again before the end of the show. But no, we do live in an era where I do see people all the time saying, oh, I want to show off this song I've been working on, and I'm worried that somebody's going to steal it. And I think if you put yourself through that kind of stress and obsess that much, ultimately, I hate saying this, but you're not that good. Like, don't back yourself so hard that people are stealing your stuff. Just put it out there. I mean, if people sweat so much on that, they're just going to hold back putting stuff
Right,
out. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yep, yep.
I think we have safeguards in place for that. I know there's been a few people within this community who've 15th Bend, one of the people who I interviewed here, he released a song. Somebody re-uploaded his song, and tried to say it was theirs. And within a week, their channel was removed. He got them removed.
Right.
So it's
yep,
extremely
that's
possible
good.
to stop people from doing it. That's why I do recommend people to release your music. Put it out there. Don't be afraid. You can do it for $20, and it's there. On the internet.
Yep.
And you're safeguarded at the same time.
Awesome.
Let's talk about where was I going to go next? I had so many more questions. It was relating to a couple of things you said, but it'll come back to me. You were talking about art and not having training or anything.
Right.
I'm a believer.
And
I'm a believer in some people obsess over like needing training and things like that. Some of the greatest artists in the world, painters, drawing, music, came from no lessons whatsoever. And I think, I don't know, I'd like to get your opinion on this. I think it's the imperfections of music or art that actually touch people. I think subconsciously perfection doesn't exist, and I think it's the inconsistencies and the errors and the mistakes and the natural imperfections that actually like wrench hearts and invite other people to enjoy stuff, because it helps the viewer or the listener to feel like they are imperfect and they fit somewhere. I think a lot of people grow up feeling like they don't fit. And when you hear something that is raw and honest and imperfect, you associate. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. If I had obsessed about being imperfect or obsessed about making something that's comparable to what I think other people can do, I would never have started this, and it would have been a shame, because the joy that it brings me and the focusing in that it does. So my mind is I have a very busy mind, so I find that as I have aged, that my mind is more scattered than it ever was. And so I find that concentrating on something like a painting or anything that I do, writing or painting or photography, and focusing in on something, and when I do it, it is like a super hyper focus. It calms me completely down, and that is the only thought that I have. So I don't have all this other crap coming into my brain because I'm so into what I'm doing. And if I had worried about, like I say, there's no way that I can compare to a lot of people. And I have now stopped. I've been doing this for a couple of years now. And so I don't worry about that anymore, because I find that I can look at something and think it's absolutely awful. And I'll go to a show, like an art show or a craft show or whatever. And I find that that painting that I dislike so much, somebody else thought it was beautiful. So, like it's like anything. It's like anything, somebody could listen to a song and think it's crap, and somebody else will listen to it, and for whatever reason, it speaks to them. So lessons don't really matter in the long run, especially if you go into it with the thought that it is only for you at the time, and your own peace of mind, or your own creativity, or that drive that you have inside of you, that everybody has it. Sometimes people are lucky enough to find it, and other times people spend a lifetime trying to find something that they can focus in on and have it speak to them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
It's a pressure that many artists, no matter what it is that you're creating, fall into. With success, then comes pressure. Like once somebody likes something that you've done, then the pressure comes from whoever you've, like for music, for example, you've released it. Say a band takes off, they release their album. Then there's this pressure to make the next thing be as popular. And as soon as you fall into the trap of making music for other
Yep,
people or making
yep.
art for other people, you are doing yourself a disservice, because
Yeah.
it's the luck of of people identifying with what you're creating, what you're feeling. As soon as you're making shit for other people, you're not feeling it anymore. You're trying to feel for other
Exactly.
people. You can't get inside other people's brains. No matter
Exactly.
no matter how much we try to understand each other, sometimes you just got to move on and say, I don't understand. And that's it,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's it, for sure. And so I very seldom, I think maybe 3 times that I have done like commission pieces. So somebody will come up to me and they'll see something and somebody else has bought it or whatever, and I have to put a not for sale thing on it, and they'll say to me, I want a picture like that. Well, I have to be very honest, and I tell them, I can make you a picture that has maybe the same colors in it, maybe, because when I pull paint and do something, I don't look at the name of the paint I'm pulling, and I don't I don't have a clue most of the time of what colors I'm using. That's the truth.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just pull a bunch. You should see. I don't know if I have a picture, but when I first started, I put newspapers out on my living room floor, which I'm sure Bradley, with his OCD, would just freak about. Inside, of course, because he would always tell me, no, Mom, I like it, but I know it must have gave him a lot of grief. But I would put newspapers all over my living room floor, and then I'd go to the back bedroom, and I would just start pulling colors. And then I sit on the floor, and I do sit right on the floor, squat. And that's my favorite way of painting. So I have this whole big space that I spread all my shit out, and my brushes and water and all that kind of stuff. And then I would paint. So when people see something, I never make the same thing twice ever, because I can't, because I don't even know what colors I used. I can give you an approximation, but I can't tell you. And so when people ask me to do something, it just absolutely fills me with stress. So unless it's a really good friend of mine, I don't do commission pieces. So because it's so stressful for me that it takes away from the actual creativity of it. It takes away the spontaneity and the creativity, and it just takes it away from me. So yeah, I don't do commission pieces.
I grew up with a lot of painters and artists as a kid. And the one thing we used to talk about was, as one of my friends, Christian, who I interviewed here on the channel. So if you want to look him up, Christian Bishop, amazing musician and artist. He would always get people doing the same thing, asking for commission stuff. Can you do this for me? Can you do that? And one of the jokes I always used to say was, anybody who asks for commission pieces has no idea about art. Because
Yeah,
they don't understand how it's made. They're completely lost.
Yeah. So the only thing that, like, if I do my plaster work, now I can do, okay, so I have a few molds that I use for my plaster work. And now I can make them a plaster of hummingbirds, but I'm not going to get the exact same colors on there. They'll say, well, they want their flowers on this plaster work to be orange. Well, I can do that, but I'm not going to get the same orange that I did in the original piece that they saw. So, excuse me. So that's about the only thing that that I repeat. I do turtles, and so quite a few people want the turtles. Yeah, those things. So that one wasn't quite finished yet. No, I'm not even sure.
How
There's
big
no.
is that?
It's actually quite big, and it's very heavy. So
It
if
looks
you
heavy.
lifted, it is heavy. So if you lift it by its feet, you would break it.
Right.
So you have to lift it from the middle. So yeah, now I don't know whether I resin that or not. So all of my plaster pieces, I put epoxy on it so that it can go outside. And we get a lot of rain here. So it goes outside, and then it's weatherproof. I varnish the back of it so it's completely sealed. So again, like, I can make turtles for people, but to get the exact same coloring or the exact same decorations or whatever, it's not going to happen. And so I tell people that they have the option of, buying it when they see it, buying it or not buying it. That's as far as it's going to go, right? A lot of this takes a lot more work than and that's the thing about any kind of art that people do. Some of the time, now that piece hasn't been epoxied yet. So once you put the epoxy on it, a lot of the colors will come out.
Really vibrant, yeah.
Really vibrant. Yeah, it'll make the colors really vibrant. But and that is on a wooden panel. Now that one hasn't been epoxied yet. And then the tree is a glue gun.
Oh, wow.
So so it's textured, right? So I took a glue gun and would go down the side and just do layers, strings and strings and strings of glue gun to make the tree. And then usually I color it in gold or browns, a mixture of browns and golds. And yeah, so that piece hasn't been epoxied yet either. So
And there's a bear in there, and Brad's enlightened us with his famous bear story.
oh my God, yes, the bear and the can of tuna. Yeah. Yeah, I have done some really stupid things in my life, I'll tell you. But anyways, I wanted to make sure that my cat didn't get eaten by a bear. And I really
haven't
wasn't.
heard this one. I was more talking about the one where his grandfather threw his brother into the
Oh my
carcass.
God, yes.
The carcass of a bear.
So, oh my God, yes, I remember that too. And Curtis was so little when that happened. It traumatized him. So yeah, so like I said, we lived in the woods. So it was nothing to see bears. Like we had bears in our yard all the time. That moose would just come strolling through. Wolves, we would hear wolves every night howling. That was nothing new. We saw deer. I had a beaver once. I was riding my bike up the hill, and do you know that beavers' teeth are orange? So all these storybooks that you read, and they show you, you know, these cute little drawings of these really friendly little beavers, and they always paint the beaver's teeth snow white. Well, beaver's teeth are like a nasty orangey brown color. They're not white. So I came up on this beaver, and he must have been moving from one dam to the next. And they're nasty little creatures. I'm telling you, he started chatting at me and rushing towards me, and frick, I ran away from him faster than I ran away from a bear. Like, honest to God. Anyways, beavers don't have white teeth. They have horribly yellowy brown teeth. Yeah, anyways. But the story about the story about the bear.
Nice beaver.
We heard nice beaver.
I couldn't resist.
Oh my goodness, that was cute. The dogs started barking, and this is when Bradley had Martha and Pierre. And so the dogs started barking really loud, and we could hear this clunk to the side of our house. And this just happened like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, so it wasn't that long ago. And we could hear this kerfuffle at the side of our house. So I can't remember whether it was Bradley or myself. But anyways, we went outside to look to see what was happening. And there was a sow. And she was rummaging around in our garbage can. So I come running back in the house because I was going to get my camera and I was going to take a picture of this bear. But I'm telling you, this bear was only like maybe 30 feet away from me, if that. Very, very close. I probably could have petted its nose if I wanted to. But I come running in the house. In the meantime, a lady stops on the other side of the street, and she's yelling at us, and she's hysterical. And I couldn't quite figure out what she was saying. And because we had the door open, Sugar ran outside. That's my cat. And Sugar ran outside, and she went and hid herself underneath the car. Well, the mama bear moved to the next door neighbor, dragging our garbage with her. And we looked, and oh my God, there's 3 cubs. And so I'm thinking, oh my God, I got to get my cat back in the house, because this bear is going to take one swat at her with its great big claws, and it's going to kill my cat. So I go out, so I quickly run into the house, and I open up a can of tuna, and I go outside, and I crawled around on the ground, with this can of tuna underneath the car to try and entice my cat to get out from underneath the car so I can, and Bradley's standing in the doorway because the mother bear is still there with her 3 cubs. And bears get very possessive and nasty when they have babies around, right? And I'm yelling, come on, sugar, come on. And I'm waving this can of tuna around. And Bradley's yelling at me saying, for fuck's sakes, Mom, get in the house. What are you doing out there with a cat? Do you not know that bears eat tuna? And it was kind of a Laurel and Hardy moment. I'm yelling back at him, well, I got to get sugar. And he's saying, well, the bear's going to get you. And it was, and then the woman is yelling at us to call the animal control. And anyways, I was just worried about saving my cat.
Poor old sugar. Brad tells me there's a story behind this.
This boat?
Is there or not? What is this?
No. So now this is in Nova Scotia. And I saw this. I had gone to, I think it was called Wolf Creek or Wolf River. Oh, it was Wolf River. And so it was a very tiny little town in Nova Scotia. A lot of artist shops and stuff. So it was really interesting to me. People that do pottery and painting and beadwork and all that kind of stuff. And I saw this abandoned boat, obviously with the ribs all taken out of it. And I just thought it was beautiful. So I took that picture. Yeah.
I'm confusing the boat with I think it's the thing that you have in your front yard. Do I have a copy of that or somewhere?
Well, you've got, Stanley. So I think I sent you a picture of Stanley. Okay, so I sent you 3 different.
Yeah, they're all in here. Let's just go through some of these photos. Let's go through the photos because I know people want to find out what's going on because, you do so much more than just sculptor, paint, photography. So, you're all over the place. Let's just go through them. I don't know who this ugly weirdo is.
I don't know who that guy is. Like, weirdo. Really, he needs to grow a beard. No.
That's not what you were telling me earlier.
No. I like my son clean shaven. I think you see more of his face and it makes him look younger.
He's been hinting at shaving it off lately, but it hasn't happened. So
it hasn't happened.
We're waiting.
I don't know. He uses that so this is in Nova Scotia. And I didn't do anything to this picture other than put some of the clouding around the edge there, but it was taken in the middle of the day and it was very foggy and there was this man standing on the beach and it looked so like alone and kind of mystical. And so, I took that picture of him standing there. This is where I grew up. The sunsets that we had there are absolutely amazing. Even though it was a very lonely place when I grew up, the beauty of it, I still miss the beauty of it all.
It's interesting. I see a lot of weirdo conspiracy people these days on the internet saying, oh, look at the skies. The skies have changed. Skies haven't changed. All through life, we've had amazing colored pink skies and all this kind of stuff. I think just people are losing their minds a little bit with conspiracy. Sometimes there are things out there that are bad. Do you like fishing? Are you a fishing person?
I love fishing. I like the solitude of it. I don't care if I catch a single fish. It doesn't matter to me. It truly doesn't. Usually what happens is if a fish bites, I get so excited that I actually have a fish on that I end up jerking it too fast. I don't set the hook. And so I end up jerking the hook right out of its mouth and it swims away. But this was taken obviously in the evening. And I do believe that that's Bradley.
Oh, is it? So he does get out of the house.
No, not anymore.
Yeah,
This
I know.
this was taken quite a few years ago, but I love to fish. Absolutely love it. Love it. And again, that was taken in Nova Scotia. That was a boat, or I don't know what you call them. I call it a boat, but I'm sure a ship or whatever. Schooner. I don't know what you call them. But anyways, it was out on the lake in the mist. This is very close to where I live. So it could be, there is not a place where I live situated in Natikokan that you can't drive 20 minutes in any direction. And this is what you see. 20 minutes almost
Beautiful.
in any direction. And this is Finlayson. This is part of a chain of lakes. And you walk in the woods a little ways and this is what you see.
The world
we
really
live
is
in a,
beautiful, isn't it? Like,
it is absolutely incredible. And it's like I say, you don't have to go far to see beauty. So many people can find beauty in their backyard. You just kind of have to have the eye for it, right? You just
Yeah.
gotta, yeah, you just have to have the eye for it. So
it's
yeah,
interesting.
we live in a,
I've been watching the volcano that's happening at the moment in Iceland. I've been watching it for 17 days, and it's beautiful. The more I watch it, the more I understand about the world. Volcanoes represent so much of who we are and how we express ourselves. And if we bottle things up too much, then it's going to
yes.
come out in a bad way. It's going to eventually explode. And it's the same thing with the earth. You know, we live on this thing. It's a living, breathing thing. It has a Schumann resonance. When the earth is, the resonance of the earth is peaking out of control up 16 hertz, we're all fucked as well. Like we're so interconnected because and the ebb and flow of water and receding trees and it's everything is so interconnected. Like shit's not that hard to understand if you just look around.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at a lot of these rocks, no, not this one so much, but they're rocks where the water through time, right? And they have worn them so smooth. And that's all nature, right? That's not man-made, that's nature. And that's the ebb and the flow and the ebb and the flow and the continual rushing of water that you don't think is that powerful, but it just smooths the rocks right down.
Yep.
So there's no edges and crags and stuff like that. It's just smooth as a rock. And there's my boy sitting in the woods out at camp and playing guitar.
As he does.
Yeah.
I've seen this one.
As he does, yeah. That is the
Wow.
Grand Canyon.
Yep.
And I wish I had a very, very cheap camera. So, and if anybody that's been to see the Grand Canyon, there are 2 times in my life where, you know, the saying that it literally takes your breath away. The Grand Canyon was one of those things. It literally, like when I walked up to the edge, there's 3 different lookout points that you can kind of drive up to, and then you walk just not very far, and then you can see into the Grand Canyon. And it literally took my breath away. So you would think, like I was raised in the country, and surrounded by lakes and trees and all that kind of stuff. And I always said to myself, I would never love the desert. I couldn't see how I could be away from a body of water because I lived, you know, by bodies of water all the time. But when I went to the desert, even though this isn't quite the desert, but it amazed me how absolutely beautiful the desert was. It is color in a different kind of way. So where I live, you get all these shades of greens and the blues and the greens and all those different kind of shades. But when you go to the desert, you get all the shades of browns and pinks, and the sand itself is it's not just sand, it's got so much color to it. The Grand Canyon was purple and pinks and blues, and it went down so far. And again, you can use a Grand Canyon as an absolute example of what the world does to itself.
Yeah.
Because this wasn't man-made, right? This was made by nature through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And the sheer beauty of it it did take my breath away. Like the very first glimpse of it was like, and like I could almost feel my heart stop. And I always thought that was just a figure of speech. But now this was a paint pour that I did. But again, I kind of painted the background with two different colors. You can see where there's blues and grays in there. And then I blew some of that out. And then I take a Posca pen, which is like an acrylic paint pen, and then I fill in what I see. So I look at it, and that's what I see, right? And so then that's what I do. So I don't know what to tell you. Another butterfly, another one. That one, yeah. So my butterfly or my dragonfly, as you can see, is quite simple. It's not very intricate, but again, that's not the point, right? And then bulrushes there, because we have a lot of bulrushes where I live. So yeah, I just I colored blocked some of the side. I just do kind of whatever I feel like doing. That's like I pulled paint. So I put down different colors, and then I take a wet paper towel and I pull it through here. That's where you get all the color there on the side of it. The other side I just paint. And then I usually stick butterflies on just about everything I do because I like butterflies. So that's a clock. So I make clocks out of old LPs.
Wow, that's out of vinyl.
Excuse me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's vinyl, a vinyl clock. And then I like to dot. So, and that's very simple but it's amazing how many dots are on that.
Yeah.
That piece of work. Tons and tons and tons of dots. But again, the dotting, even though it's very time consuming, it's very focusing. So people say, oh, you must have to have a lot of patience to do that. I wouldn't have the patience to do that.
It reminds me of Indigenous art, especially Aboriginal art, which is a lot of dots here in Australia.
Yes, and I looked at that.
Swirls and dots. Yep.
Swirls and dots. And somebody mentioned that to me because I have done different pieces with dots on them. And they said to me, oh, it looks like Australian Indigenous art. And I thought, well, that wasn't my intention when I started doing this. I just like the dotting because it's very focusing, right? And so then I looked up the Australian and I watched this older woman, and she was down on kind of like how I do it. She was on her knee, or not knees, but she was actually sitting, and she was working on a big piece of art, and it was all dotting. And I thought, well, oh my God, is that ever cool? And then I read a little bit more about it, how some of the Indigenous people in Australia are they're other people are kind of taking over their art.
Like that.
Yes, yes, exactly. And other people are doing that and kind of claiming it as their own. So what do you call that? Assimilation?
Yeah.
Where they're doing, yeah. And I think to myself, what a shame, because it's the same.
People are making knockoffs and
Exactly, and they're making knockoffs, and even though you can appreciate works of art, and we all do it, you see something and then you go, oh, that's beautiful, and you don't copy it, but you might look at it and you might get inspired by it, but to actually sit down and then that piece, that's color blocking. And again, this is glue that I used for the tree. I did this one because my grandson was diagnosed. This is at the same time that my grandson was diagnosed with a really rare disease. And at the time, it hurt his whole body was so inflamed that even his veins were inflamed. So for them to get blood, and they had to get tons of blood out of him, it hurt him so bad. And so that's kind of the idea behind this, where it's blocked off, but then you see the veins and
connecting,
so the connecting and how everything is kind of intertwined and whatever, right? So that piece was inspired by my grandson and his illness. There's Bradley fishing.
Is the weirdo?
That's the weirdo with his pants almost hanging off.
I'm surprised they're even on.
Yeah, exactly. It was a beautiful day. I'm surprised too. But he loved fishing, like he really did. That's kind of a blue heron. We have a lot of those around here. That's just a very simple piece. And I sometimes do much more than I should, as my daughter will could attest to. So sometimes I like to do something simple. That isn't resined yet either. I haven't resined that one yet. So
wow.
There's another one. So I love owls. So I think I always think that owls are my spirit animal, but anyways, not because of the wisdom, but not because I'm so wise, but I just happen to love owls. So, and then that is on a piece of vinyl that's on a record. And I gave it to my grandson because he liked it. So I gave it to him.
It's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Thank you. And I love trees. So any kind of gnarly, misshapen, gnarly looking, scraggly thing, I like. So that's taken at the Grand Canyon, and I saw that tree, and it just, I don't know, it reminds me of life. Like life is gnarly and misshapen and can have all kinds of spikes and different weird things coming out of it or whatever, but you know what, it has beauty in its own way. So, and there's another tree. I like the cloud formation when I took that picture, the colors in the clouds, so you can see the pinks. The sun was starting to go down. You see the pinks and the purples and the lavenders and the blues, and then here's this lone tree kind of standing up and, I don't know, reaching for whatever you want to believe in, right?
It's amazing. The earth really is an artist itself. I mean,
exactly.
It paints for us, and so we spend so much time missing this stuff. We're missing it. Yeah,
we're missing it, and I think that Yes, I think that people forget, and I don't think they do it on purpose, but I think people forget to take, that old saying of take time to smell the roses. Really, there's that saying for a reason. You need to take time. I think it feeds the soul. Um, I don't want to get really philosophical, but that's who I am. So yeah, you're going to hear it anyway. So if you don't take time, your soul starves. And I think that speaks to a lot of our misplaced people, our homeless people, a lot of people that maybe get into addictions. And I mean, there's many reasons why people get into addictions. Loneliness is one of them. I think loneliness and not having a place in the world probably speaks more to that than anything else. But I also think that people lose themselves. They lose a part of themselves when they don't stop and appreciate what we have. And we are lucky. We have a lot. And it doesn't have to be material. It's just the world itself. We have a lot. We have a lot to be thankful for. It is here. It's available for people to look at, for people to breathe in, for people to take that time and that space to actually put their feet on the earth and breathe it all in. And I don't know if that made any sense at all, but that's truly how I feel. Like, you can walk down to a lake in the early morning and go barefoot and walk to the edge of a lake, and you've planted yourself. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you have
Absolutely.
planted yourself into the earth, and not to appreciate that, you are not feeding your soul. You are not feeding a part of you that really needs to be nurtured. And I think a lot of people miss that. And yeah, so we have a lot of people out there searching for something, and they'll say that they feel empty. And I feel sorry for people that feel empty, because the earth can feed you. I don't know. I'm
No,
just
I agree. I agree. We've taken a wrong turn. We've taken a wrong turn. We go through school being taught things that we don't use, instead of simple stuff like how to pay bills, which is what we should learn. And we should
yeah, yeah.
kids should be encouraged further than primary school to imagine and look around all the time and create. I hear it all the time. When I used to teach singing, I hear it all the time. People come in and you'd always get the person who'd come in for singing lessons and go, I'm already a pretty good singer. All my friends tell me I'm good. And then they open their mouth and you want to stick a sock in it because they're not
Yeah.
good, right? Because they're having smoke blown up their ass. But the people that would come in and go, oh, I'm terrible, I really can't sing, they were always the ones who turned out fantastic, right? But this is
for
the
sure.
problem, because people aren't encouraged, and then they don't believe they can be creative, when just by opening your eyes, you can see beautiful things and recreate it. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Exactly. And you know what? And the thing is you don't even have to create. I think finding moments in life, like we so many people struggle with pain, and so many people struggle with illnesses and different things like that. And it can be absolutely soul draining. And I know that because I live with Bradley, right? And I know that he's in excruciating pain. But somehow or other in your life, and I guess it depends on maybe the type of person you are or whatever, if you can find a moment in your day And it doesn't have to be huge and it doesn't have to be monumental. It can be a moment where you sit back and you go, maybe your dog crawling on your lap and you're sitting there and you're petting this little creature that's so dependent on you, and you pet him and you feel at peace, and that's a moment. And then pretty soon you can string these moments, and then you go, well, I actually had a pretty good day. But we have to remember to string those moments together and not concentrate on the bad stuff, right? You find this moment and you find that moment. And I'll tell you a story. This kind of sums up. When I first started working in the nursing homes, I worked on a psychiatric floor. And this is when they did the great dump in the 70s. So they dumped out, they emptied out 2 homes in Thunder Bay. One home was for the severely handicapped people, and the other place they dumped was the psychiatric residents. And so they dumped them into various different buildings. Some of them, went to live back with their families, which didn't go well. And some of them were put into smaller institutions. Some were put into group homes, different things like that. I went onto a floor where there was a lady who was blind. She was nonverbal, and she was severely handicapped. So we had to do absolutely everything for her. We had to feed her. We had to change her diaper. We had to bathe her. We had to dress her, get her up and put her in a wheelchair, the whole 9 yards. And her name was Katie. So every day I would go in and I would take her hand and I would say, "Good morning, Katie," and talk to her and just say, "How are you doing?" And then I would say, "Okay, Katie, you're going to have your breakfast," and do that kind of thing. So I loved Katie, and there was just something about her, and I know she heard me. I know she did. I could tell by the way she reacted when I came in the room, and when I spoke to her, like there was just a connection. I was telling this to a friend of mine, and he looked at me and he said, "Why on earth would people like that even be in the world?" He said she should have been gotten rid of. If the people had known that, so what is her purpose? Because I was going on about people's purposes in life and how much I believe that. And he said to me, very sarcastically, he said to me, "So she can't do anything for herself. She can't talk. She can't, barely move. She can't feed herself. She can't dress herself. What is her purpose?" And I thought about it for just a minute, and I said to him, "You know what her purpose was? Her purpose in this world, first of all, she gave joy to her mother when she was first born. That's a purpose. So in those days, that mother would never have known that that child was going to be disabled, right? So as a mother, she gave joy to the mother by being born. Now, maybe, yes, she was born handicapped and everything else, but along comes me. And her purpose was to teach me compassion. I'm going to cry because this means so much to me. Her purpose was to teach me compassion and understanding and patience. And if it did nothing else in anybody's life, that was her purpose for me. And so she had a purpose. And I am sure that other people that looked after Katie after I moved to a different place, I am sure she did the same thing for them. What greater purpose in life is than that? Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. You know what? It's so funny when I've been. There's been times in my life where I've been completely lost, being trans and all this stuff, and being afraid to even leave the house. And if it wasn't for probably one of the most important times in my life was I'd first come out and I was really struggling leaving the house just because of the intense hatred that people all of a sudden had for me, which that I didn't expect for 30 years. And somebody said to me, you know what you should do? You should go and help people who are at a disadvantage. And trust me, it'll help you get out of this rut. And at the time, like that person who suggested it said, I have HIV, and I'm a part of this group called Ankali, where they match people with people who have HIV, and Ankali means friend in Aboriginal. And all you do is just once a week go and spend an hour or two with this person and just listen to them and just simply open your fucking ears and don't open your fucking mouth. And
exactly.
I thought, how's this going to help me? And again, I was thinking about myself. And as soon as I went and did it and went through the training and learned all about how HIV works and then, you know, they get to know you and then they match you with somebody, then there's the uncomfortable moment of going to meet this random stranger and you're apparently their friend. I did this for 9 years and watched two people die with me holding their hand with no one else around. And I had the same thing of people going, why do you do it? What purpose do they have if they're just shut-ins and they just want to die? It's like, you don't understand. Like it's
right.
If it wasn't for this person and hearing all of the stories about them, all the things that led up to where they were in their life, these people led amazing lives and had purpose, and they had purpose till their fucking very death. And just because of other people's stigmas, and you know, it made me such a better person, and it changed me completely. Like I will never be the same after that. I will always think of other people first and put me last, and that is something you can't just wake up and do. You have to experience things like this.
That's right.
And you being a carer, it makes sense why you are so compassionate and wise, because most people who put others first are.
Well, I don't know about how wise I am, but I do know that working with the people and the people that I work with now and have worked with for 22 years have probably taught me the most profound lessons that I could ever learn. So I'll tell you another story. So I worked in a group home. There were 6 people in this group home, and 2 of the people had Down syndrome. So all of the people that I've worked with in the last 22 years, are all have developmental disabilities of varying kinds, right? But the 2 people that I worked with had Down syndrome. And so Michael and Joy. And they now Joy could hardly speak. Michael could speak a lot, and he talked a lot, but very cute as a button. But they considered themselves married. And and then Michael ended up with Alzheimer's, which is a very common thing for Down syndrome to get. So the people that have Down syndrome, probably more than half, I can't remember, I think it's around 75% of Down syndrome people will end up with Alzheimer's. I don't know why that number is so high. They're not sure. But anyways, Michael ended up with Alzheimer's, and he ended up saying a lot of very silly things and was very afraid. I mean, they made sense to him. But they considered themselves married. And I would look at the two of them sitting on the couch, and he would pet her head, and he would talk to her and talk all the time. But and she would get exasperated once in a while. But every night they would go into the bedroom, and they never slept together because he snored and she didn't like that. But they would kiss each other goodnight. And if Joy went to visit her family, Michael couldn't sleep at night. And the same thing if Michael went, neither one of them could sleep without the other in the room. And I looked at that, and you listen to people's definition of love and people's definition of caring for people. And I kind of stepped back and I looked at this couple, and I thought, that is the true definition of what love is, because she couldn't communicate very well, and he had Alzheimer's, and yet they absolutely accepted each other without question, exactly the way they were. And to me, that is the ultimate definition of love. If you can take and look at a person, and no matter where they are in life or what they're doing, and if you can look at them with no strings attached to you know what I mean? Like no strings attached to their expectations, and love each other anyway. That is the pure definition of love to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm on board
And
with
so when I go and you know, I have a tendency to go on and on and on. I'm really sorry.
that. No. Everybody is
yeah.
everybody's still here, and you when you go back and watch this, you'll see the comments. We've had comments of people saying they wish you would adopt them. I mean, you had a lot of nice compliments in the chat. I could sit here and listen to you forever, and we were already running over time, and I don't give a shit, because wherever these shows go,
yeah, I'm fine too. I'm good with it.
Most people know who've watched these shows. I don't have a plan, and if it's kicking on, and we're having a good conversation, we let it go, and because these conversations are important.
You and I talked about this a little bit a couple of days ago. And I want to touch on this again, because I think that what you're doing and the format that you're doing is so very important. When I think of Bradley's life and how isolated that he is, and it bothers me a great deal. But what your community has done for my son is absolutely amazing. The friendships that you guys have formed, the learning from each other that you guys do, the laughing that I hear. Sometimes I'm in my bedroom and I can hear Bradley just splitting a gut. I would like to be in on those conversations. But how very important for people like Bradley, and like for anybody, it doesn't even have to be like Bradley, but for people to find a community where they are accepted for exactly who they are, the talents that they bring, even if they don't bring any talent and they're funny as hell, right? It doesn't matter. It's the community. It's that sense of belonging. It's that sharing and that give and take. I think that I know that the friendships that he has formed with you and Russ and there's other names that he has mentioned that I forget, but it's amazing to me, and I think it's absolutely wonderful, Jade. Like, it's wonderful.
It is. I'm really glad to be able to do it. You know, this all came from the inconvenience, the COVID. You know, I would never have imagined doing something like this. And, you know, this is one of the favorite parts of the week for me, because not only do I get to do an interview, sometimes it's highlighting an album that's being released, sometimes it's a discussion, whatever it is. Everybody has a story. Everybody has value. No matter if you're sitting there thinking, but I don't, what could I hear it. I've had so many people come on the show and beforehand say, I don't know how you're going to fill this 2 hours. I'm not really that interesting. And bullshit, it turns out to be one of the, just as interesting as the last one, if not more. Because everyone's story, that we all are connected in some kind of way, you know.
And there was a TV program years ago. I don't know whether it was like I don't know, like a 60 Minutes or something like that. And there was a reporter that went out, and it was his premise for his whole show was the fact that everybody has a story. And you know, and just like you said, people say, I got nothing interesting. Nothing interesting has happened in my life. I've got nothing. So he would start asking questions, and then, you know, and be interested, right? So you're listening, and then you pick up on something. And the next thing you know, you find out that this person has a story. They, you know, and it's everybody has a story to tell. You're so absolutely right about that. And his whole program was based on that. Just an ordinary person on the street, start talking to them, and they have a story. They have, you know, maybe they went through bullying, maybe they went through and maybe they did something heroic, but it got forgotten through the years. I mean, everybody has a story. Everybody can tell you something interesting or something heart-wrenching or something they've learned or a piece of wisdom. Everybody has something to say and contribute. Everybody does. That's true.
Yeah, and it's part of the reason why Indigenous cultures are unfortunately being lost, because we are crushing what they relied on. Because their stories, no matter where, whatever Indigenous culture, it's all about passing down stories, and those stories get spread, and those stories become the glue of the communities. And that's it. That's, again, why I do this show, is because we have a community of very broad people who make music. And so that's our one thing in common, but it's our stories that really explain why the music's so interesting. You know, I'm going to play some music now, and then we're going to come back and bring this thing home. We're going to look at a bit more of your art, and then we're going to talk about where can people get it and an exhibition you have coming up. So I've chosen this song. I don't care. because it's Brad, and I love playing Brad's music, and a lot of people love Brad's music because I'm just going to say this. I can see now where Brad gets his songwriting, his lyric writing from. He can't maybe express himself talking without it being a story about strippers and drugs, but he encapsulates your ability to be wise and speak in a song. So I can see that very clearly from this. So I'm going to play Foolish Child. I love this song.
Yes, I do too.
I was involved in this. So in a small way of even just mastering it. I know Ivan Idea, who's here. He was on it as well. So let's play this now. This is Foolish Child, one of my favorite tracks. Let's do it.
Yes, it's one of my favorites too.
I guess I've spent my time living between the lines. You got my faith, I lost my pride, and I kept everything inside. And there's a foolish child in me that simply lost his way. And I believed in myself until you slowly took it all away. The dream is all I need, and I can hardly sleep, I can hardly eat, and I can't believe in anything today. I can't expect things to go my way, and I believed in myself until you slowly took it all away.
I love that song.
It's made me cry. It always does.
It does. It does. It really makes you. It really does tell a story as far as what happens to people. Like it happens to us all.
Yeah.
Like we all start out, as children, we start off just so full of life and eager to learn, and sometimes it doesn't take much to take that away, and you get lost. It does. It speaks to me and about life, and then it's kind of our purpose to hopefully, for some people, it's really difficult for them to climb out of that place where the world has told them that they are less than. And so it can happen, and it just wears you down and wears you down. And you would hope that people find a purpose, and that people find some way of getting past the lies that other people have told you about yourself, and then you start believing it, and it happens to so many people, eh? Yeah, I love that song. Oh,
Who's-
there it is.
Who
That's
is?
Stanley. So, oh my goodness. So this is the very first thing that Bradley and I worked on together. So Bradley was really sick. He was in Sault Ste. Marie, and I was talking to him, and I lived here in Atikokan. And I could tell that Bradley wasn't doing well. So I said to him, Bradley, I'm coming to get you, because I can't live this way anymore, worrying about you. So I, you know, said, I'm coming to get you. You're coming to live with me. And I went to his house, and he had that mannequin in his, and there it is out in our front yard. And he stuck a Cuban, I can't remember that guy's name, but he stuck that cap on, some Cuban guy. But anyways, so we stuck him out in our yard, and we got to get him fixed and put him back. I think I might take him out to camp. But anyways, so Bradley had this mannequin downstairs in his basement, and he told me about it. Well, yeah, like he doesn't have his guitar hanging down though. But anyways, so Bradley said, well, I'm going to throw this in the garbage. And I said, no, don't throw it in the garbage. I said, yes, that's the guy, whatever
Che Guevara.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyways, I said, no, don't throw him away. I said, we can probably do something with him. So we, Argentinian. That's right. So anyways, so we brought him home with us, and he hung around for, I don't know. He was out in the shed and whatever. And so I'm looking at him, and I said, like, let's paint him. So we put newspaper out on the floor, and we put him down on the floor. We laid him down, and we painted the front, and we just had fun with it. Took us a couple of days, and we just really, really enjoyed ourselves doing this mannequin. So we had him out in the yard for a couple of weeks, and I live across the street from a battered women's shelter, and one day I'm standing there, and I'm looking out the window, and I see another mannequin. And I happened to know the lady that was living in that apartment. So she had taken her mannequin, and she made jewelry. And she had taken her mannequin, had dressed it all up. She did a beautiful job painting it. It was really gorgeous. But anyways, and she put her mannequin in the window. And so anyway, so we had a couple of jokes back and forth, and she called her mannequin, I don't know what she called it. We'll just say Eve. So she called her mannequin Eve, and I named my mannequin Stanley. And so they were friends for like a year. And then she took her mannequin down, and mine got kind of busted up by a rambunctious dog that we had. So yeah,
I'm going to go through some of your art now. Just flick through it so people can see it, because we're going to wrap up soon. So let's just flick through some of this stuff. So there's bottle art in here as well.
Yeah,
beautiful stuff.
So I just take now this one, if you could expand. Okay, not that one.
Oh, this one here. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you could expand it. So there's a lot of dart art in there, and then towards the bottom. If you go down towards the bottom, there's dragonflies, there's little crystal rocks. So there's quite a bit of detail in this one. This one took me quite a bit of time. The interesting thing is that I painted that first, and I let it sit in my living room for quite a long time. And I kept looking at it and looking at it and looking at it. Then one night, out of the clear blue, right, like as it usually happens when you're trying to find a word and you usually comes to you at the nighttime, I looked at it some more and I thought, I can do something more with it. It's not quite finished. So sometimes that happens, right?
Yep.
Where you maybe you start writing a song and then you put it away because it's that's some more. So what I used to do is every year at Christmas time, our organization would have a big Christmas party. And I started making decorations for the tables. So I did probably, I'm going to say 30 sets of 3 to put on each person's table. And they got to take them home afterwards. So I donated them to the organization and they got to take them home. And I did that for 12 or 13 years. And every year it would be something different that I would make. And I just did it because I liked doing it, right? So
now have you been like putting are these in exhibitions? I know you have an exhibition coming up, don't you? Like, have you done exhibitions before? Or is this going to be your first one?
No, I did one little one not too long ago. And then and that's another clock that I did with a tree and bulrushes. And I really love doing the clocks.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, some of them turn out better than others, right? There's another owl, like in a birch tree.
So tell us how's this exhibition? What's happening? When is it?
Well, now I don't. The sad part of it is our pictograph gallery closed.
Right.
So it just closed. We were getting the space for free. That's the Northern Lights. I don't know. Do you get Northern Lights in Australia?
We don't get them here, no.
No.
Although the way the world's going and the amount of solar radiation we're getting, probably by next year we will get them here.
Oh, that would be awesome because you have never experienced and those are like the set of bottles, some of the bottles that I put on each table. And then people and moose, we have a lot of moose. And so this kind of speaks to maybe a little bit of our Indigenous art. So I don't want to ever assimilate the same things that they do because I don't think that that's right. But I do like to do animals and that kind of stuff, right? So we get a lot of moose and that's another clock I did. But that's another one I did. And then that's another one that I sat on for quite a while and then decided to go in with the Posca pen and the acrylic art and just doodle with it. That's another one I did. So it kind of reminded me of like a foggy, misty morning, kind of a snowy, crispy kind of air, like, yeah.
The whole shot's beautiful too because everything with it works really well.
Yes.
Desk, I'm guessing that's an antique.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's another clock I did. Like I say, I love doing the clocks. They're a little bit quicker art. But so, and again, like this one I gave to a friend. Oh, my son's yelling at me.
Yeah, I can hear him.
Because he's saying that I take I get records and then I don't look at the back to see if they're valuable. So and so anyways, this one is resined, but if you see the white down at the bottom, I mixed a little bit of white paint in it because I wanted that to look kind of misty. So you kind of blow that epoxy across. but it's just a fantasy tree, and I did it for a friend of mine. So he really liked it, so I gave it to him. Like, yeah, he's a really good friend of mine. I'm gonna freaking miss him at work, but anyways.
Hey, Brad,
That's what's up.
I know you're watching this, Brad, so I've got a message for you.
Get fucked. Yeah, right on. Thank you for doing that. Get fucked.
All right, Brad. So just stay calm.
Yeah.
Another beautiful clock. So can people have asked in the chat, how can people get hold of this? Are you going to put these on an Etsy website? Are you going to create a place where people can get them?
I could try. I'm that's another clock I did. I can try. Canvas is very hard to transport because I always worry about it being punctured or but I know there is a way of doing it. I just haven't found a way yet, and I don't know how to do an Etsy shop. So I'm going to have Bradley try and set me up with that. So hopefully. Now this is interesting. So it doesn't look very interesting there, but it's a big, huge thing now. So if you look in the art world, it's called neurographic art. And the idea of it is to start at the top of your canvas and then just draw lines all the way through, just random lines. So it's supposed to be no thought. You just lose yourself in it. So when you draw the lines, after you draw the lines, any place where the line crosses, you round the edges off. So you can see the black dots there. That's where a line has crossed, like say right there. That's where the lines have crossed. So you want to smooth that out. Well, and so now this is a big thing, this neurogenic art. Now they're holding classes for it and all the rest of it, right? Then you can embellish it whatever way you want. But the idea is that you have no points so I'm not really good at it yet. I just started doing this. But it's you, and so where you round the edges off are supposed to be like neurons in your brain, right? Because nothing's pointed. Everything is kind of smooth and no points to it. So it would be almost like neurons connecting in your brain. And so that's kind of the idea behind that. Well, if you look at our Indigenous arts people, this always amazes me. So many things, and it comes out as, oh, this is the new thing. If you look back in history, a lot of times it's not really new. Our Indigenous peoples here in Canada and the States have done art very similar to this their whole lives. You know what I mean?
Everything old is new again. Everything old is new again. Now, these are dreadlocks, aren't they? These are dreadlocks.
Well, kind of like dreadlocks, but it's actually just wool, strands of wool. And I got a piece of driftwood, and I liked the driftwood. It was smooth and like I like wood. And so I just took some wool that I liked, knotted it up at the top. I added some beads to it. I tied it all. I added the you can see the dream catcher there. That white thing in the middle is the dream catcher. So that is very very remnant or that is what our native peoples, and now do your Indigenous peoples have like dream catchers?
Yeah, Brad's been trying to convince me to get one. He reckons I need one.
Yes, like I believe in a lot of I believe in a lot of this stuff. And anyway, so this is A dream catcher is for people that have nightmares. The spider web aspect of it is that it would catch just like a spider web would, right? It would catch your bad dreams. So the indigenous peoples have been doing dream catchers. Now, usually they do them in black, blue, and yellow, I believe. And each color is representative of the earth in some way, right? So anyways, yeah, so I enjoyed it. I just hung some wool on a strands of yarn on a stick. And
I know this is one of Brad's favorites. Metalhead Hippie asks, how much will some of these artworks go for? How much do you charge to sell these things? What's an average? Is there an average?
Yeah, there's an average. I don't. Oh yeah, this piece I just donated to a group of ladies. So I donated this piece to somebody.
How much?
I don't sell my work for very much. So probably my most expensive piece is $60.
Wow, that's super cheap.
Yeah, that's I because I'm not really doing it for money.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because it's something I enjoy. And so, yeah, that piece is actually much prettier than what it shows up on camera.
Wow,
That piece
look at all this.
too.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, like, and I do all kinds of artsy crafty kind of stuff.
Leela's written, I was going to say 500. D. Michael says should be 600. Many Vibe says,
Oh,
no.
yeah. No. Atikokan is a very small town. We only have like I said, I think about 2,800 here. If I ever, tried to sell a piece for $600 here in Atikokan, they'd think I lost my mind. So no, I keep my art very affordable, and I really, if it pays for my art supplies, I'm basically happy with that. My kids have said to me, "Oh, you should be charging more."
You should be. Absolutely.
I just,
you should be.
yeah, that's not my goal.
Yeah.
I mean, my goal would be to now that I'm retired and I have to live on old age pension.
Now you better start selling them more.
Yeah, maybe I'll start selling it for a little bit more because I'm not going to be able to afford the supplies. But because I have to go out of town to get anything, they sell nothing here in Atikokan, no art supplies whatsoever. So I have to go out of town or order it online. So yeah, it just.
I know over the next amount of time, I'll help Brad. I mean, if it takes something to get this stuff available, I mean, it's pretty easy to transport this stuff. There is, I think Leela wrote it too. There's like certain cardboards you can use for shipping paintings and canvases and all that. We really should get you on here because I would love to. You know what would be really cool? What we could do. And I'm saying it now. I'm making you an offer. Let's have on this show, we'll organize it. We'll get all this stuff, what you want to sell. Let's have an auction on this show.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
what do you think, guys?
God.
What do you think? And we'll work it out with Brad and Debra, and we'll get some kind of page up where everything's on there, and we'll do an auction on this channel. And we'll raise money. And then you can do with the money what you want for paintings, whatever you want to do. We'll get it happening, and we'll try and do it sometime, in the future. But it'll be one of these Friday shows. We'll see if DistroKid want to sponsor it as well, and I'll donate some of my takings from DistroKid towards the thing and buy something myself. Okay, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, I like that idea, but I'm going to tell you that I want you to pick a charity that means something to you. And I want you for this auction. So I want it to be for young people, and I want it to be for young people that struggle. So if you know of a group and that's what that's going to be for, Jade.
Let's do that. But let's make it an amount that goes from each sale. because you've got to get something too for your paint and supplies. So let's do that. And so you've got something out of it. You put a lot of hard work in, and your time is valuable as well. So I agree. I'll do that. Let's pick a charity, but we'll make it a percentage or something that goes out of it.
Absolutely. I want it.
You deserve to get something back for it too, because there's a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears that goes into art, and I just would not do that. Want to see that.
Well,
and everybody in the chat is in absolute agreement. Yes, art auction, brilliant. Yes, that's an idea. Everybody's down for it. We are going to do it on this channel. We're going to have. Man,
well, how about? Okay, so we can do an auction, but how about if we also do, like, say I take a canvas, I get everything ready, get it all ready, and then we go through the process of what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. What we'll do is we'll bring each piece up that we're auctioning off, and you can give us the story for each piece. And we won't make it a big thing. We won't have like 200 pieces. You make a selection of a very nice, simple number, and we'll talk about it more. This is all just coming to my head right now, so don't quote me on shit. I think it'd be really fun, and I like doing things outside the box. And just from the enthusiasm of everybody here today, there's people who would love to have some of this stuff. I know I would as well, to have behind me when I set up my new kind of studio look.
Oh.
So, and Jade, I already have art here from somebody, one of my tables. I can't show it to you.
Well, you got art on your shirt. Like, seriously, what better art than that? There it is, right there.
That's art. All right.
That's art, all right. That's art. We can do something like that.
Let's do it.
That sounds wonderful.
I'm
Jade.
up for it. So we are at the end of this show. We've gone way over time. We've gone 48 minutes over. I appreciate you coming on.
Holy crap.
I could talk to you forever.
I told you I talk a lot.
I talk a lot
I told you that. I warned you ahead of time.
But that's what this show is about, getting people on and letting them talk. I'm just here to let you talk and let you shine. That's everybody who comes on here is for that. So currently all I have for a link is your Facebook page. So if people want to connect, your Facebook page is down linked below. If people want to connect with you there, but we will get on this. Me and Brad will work on this with you. And at some stage, so just relax, folks. You'll have to give us some time. It's going to be a thing. We're going to have to organize this.
Yeah, I have to organize it a little bit for sure. Yeah.
And we'll do it through PayPal. I know Brad's got a PayPal, so we can organize that kind of stuff. And I think I can organize something okay. So
yeah, and then I'll have to do, Bradley can help me because I am not tech savvy. Yep. But yeah, I'm going to have to do some research.
And I can help Brad because Brad's not tech savvy.
Exactly. And then, like Leah said, I do a little bit of research about how to package everything. Yeah. Like, it sounds like she knows what she's talking about. So, I'd have to learn how to package things up and
but we'll keep it small too. We'll keep it small. Even if it's like only 10 things, we'll just keep it very small. So it's not too, even if it's less than that. So it's very, because scarcity is a thing. You don't want to give people everything. You pick a group of things and make them scarce, and I'm sure people are going to love it and get involved in it. So
and I like the idea of the charity, Jade. So
absolutely,
please,
I'm down with that.
Yeah. So you pick a charity, and then let me know about it. And like I said, I want it geared for young people, not like young, but I mean, kids out there that are kind of lost or kind of searching or struggling in some way, and maybe to, Yeah,
we'll come up with something together. We've got plenty of time.
Come up with something.
We've got plenty of time. So, all right. Yes. Now, I want to thank you also for coming on the show and sharing your experiences, your wisdom, your art, your talent. I just love so much. And I know everybody here's had a really fantastic time. I want to thank you for birthing Brad.
Oh,
because he's one of my dear, dear friends, and we all love his
I
music.
know.
And
I
you know,
know.
he's awesome.
Yeah,
And
your friendship. Well, I already told you,
yeah.
and yeah. So that's between you and I.
But I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you the last question I ask everybody who comes on the show. If you were giving advice to somebody just starting out being creative, when would you say is the best time for them to start?
Now. Absolutely now. It is, there is, you just get yourself some paint, get yourself some colors, and I am telling you that everybody has creativity, and you go with what you feel like. Now is the best time. If I waited until I thought I was good enough, or I wouldn't be doing this. So the very first step is now. You start it now.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you for all hanging out today. There's been consistently over 30 people here today, so thank you for hanging out. There's, you know, we have a wonderful community here and being so supportive. I want to thank, of course, the sponsor of the show, DistroKid, because without DistroKid, I wouldn't be able to make all this magic happen. You can get 7% off when you sign up with my link there with DistroKid. Release your music. Do it now. Do what Debra tells you. Release it, put it out, use DistroKid. You'll have the best time ever. All right, we're going to go out today with one of Brad's songs. It is a song called Diamonds. I've put it to last because you, Debra, are a diamond.
Oh, thank you. And Jade, thank you so much. You know what? I can just, you have got a beautiful heart. I can feel it. I can hear it. Honestly, I just think so much of you. Like, what a wonderful person you are.
Thank you. The feelings are likewise. I'm very privileged to sit here and do this, so thank you. And thanks, everybody, for hanging out. This is Diamonds. We'll see you all on. I'm back on the weekend, folks. If you want to, the next time I'm back here doing stuff on this channel will be. Let me bring up some kind of information because I should let you know what's happening. I think it is. No, it's not that one. I think it's. I can't even find my own advertising stuff. Here we go. This is coming up this week. This weekend, The Wheel of Community Covers. I'll be back singing your songs again, and there's still heaps of artists on the wheel that I haven't sung from, so hopefully you can come and join me for that. I've got a big week ahead next week of apps, and next week's artist we have on the show is Leroy's Musical Journey from here in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia. So he's an amazing artist too, so we're going to have him on the show for next week. And let's go out now with Brad Example and Diamonds. Thank you, Debra. Stay on the line with me and I'll say goodbye to you off the air. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Remember, do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better, and we'll all rise together. This is Brad Example and Diamonds with black covers.
Pick up the pieces you're broken. architect of my long lost dreams. Every scar tells a story of all our days between. And the tears turn to diamonds. If you're lost, I'll find you. Pick up the pieces, your broken heart. The world I promise won't fall apart. My love will always be with you. And the tears turn to diamonds. If you're lost, I'll find you. Pick up the pieces, your broken heart. The world I promise won't fall apart. My love will always be with you. Yeah, right on. Thank you for doing that.
We'll all rise together, 'cause you make me shine, baby.